Yes, I
Do you mind?
do. We can see.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna make this a tad bit smaller so I can see it too. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to this conference. I'm really excited to speak with you all about some work that I did during my dissertation, and it's focused on the capacity development and evaluation of a parent advisory team engaged in childhood obesity research. And this is a picture of where I'm located. I'm currently an assistant professor in food and nutritional sciences at North Carolina A&T State University, and we're located in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so, for disclosure, I have no conflicts of interest in relation to this presentation or conference as well. And just to give you a brief background of what I'll be going through today, just a background focused on where this particular project took place, our approach to research, which was community based participatory research, and the actual study. And so this project took place in the Dan River region, which is located in north central North Carolina and south central Virginia. And it's considered one of the most health disparate regions in the Virginia area with high rates of unemployment, low average economic earning, and in addition to higher rates of overall health when it comes to chronic disease, food insecurity, and just overall adult obesity. And these are the different counties that make up the Dan River region: Caswell County, Pittsylvania County, and Henry County. And as you can see, compared to the state average, when it comes to food insecurity, obesity, and children eligible for free and reduced lunch, it's much higher. And so that led to the development of the Dan River Partnership for a Healthy Community. And based on the overall health needs in the region, there were a group of academic partners, which during was Virginia Tech, in addition to community partners within the region. And we really wanted to get together to say, how can we tackle this obesity related issue within the community? And so this partnership was created, and the goal of the partnership was really to focus on how can we combat obesity in this region and just promote overall healthy lifestyle initiatives. And the overall vision was really to just create an environment or promote an environment that helped individuals make healthy food choices and be physically active, with the overall goal of reducing obesity. And so with this partnership, it was guided by this community-based participatory research approach. And with this approach, I'll hit briefly on kind of what these principles are, but the goal of this is really a partnership and collaborative approach where everyone has an equitable voice at the table. So from a research perspective, as researchers going in the community, it won't be the researchers as the lead or the community as the lead. We will be on equal playing fields of how we're addressing the needs of our community constituents or anyone who is engaging in our community-based programs. And so this is a conceptual logic model that really guides this process. And this was a guiding model of how we created our advisory board. And so that first step is really understanding the context of the location, the context of your community. And so from a practitioner perspective, it could be really understanding the context of your patient. Every individual comes in with different needs in addition to just different backgrounds. So understanding those needs. And from our research-based perspective, it was really understanding just the history of collaboration and trust within that community, in addition to the capacity to engage in any work related to tackling obesity, adult related obesity, as well as childhood obesity. And so once the context was understood from a research perspective and community perspective, we created our partnership. And so with that partnership, we really wanted to focus on the structural dynamics. So who were the different players at the table, in addition to who were the individuals at the table, and really what did they bring to this partnership? So we really had this focus on our group dynamics. So how we're working together as a community partnership, leading to our intervention in research. And so we really focus on evidence-based research when we're trying to develop programs and engaging community members in these programs. But specifically with CBPR, we want to make sure that we're tailoring our programs to the needs of the community. So and tailoring it to the needs of the populations that we're going to address. So how do these programs really fit within this particular region, and are there modifications that need to be done to to these programs? And so my favorite part with this approach is really understanding the outcomes of what we're doing as an advisory team. And typically in traditional research, your primary outcome is your actual finding? Is it the improved health? Is it the changes in overall childhood obesity from our perspective? But there are always twofold outcomes when it comes to this CBPR approach. And it's really focused on how we are engaging as a advisory board, because the goal is to really lead to the sustainability of our interventions and of our projects, even when the research team leaves, empowering the community to sustain what's currently going on, in addition to our improved health. And so from my perspective, it was childhood BMI-Z scores. And so kind of within this project, I really want to focus on this systems and capacity outcome of this particular project. And so that leads me to this capacity evaluation component. And so, like I said before, the Dan River Partnership was really focused on combating obesity within the area. So it was the academic team, Virginia Tech, in addition to in addition to Parks and Recs, which was an organization, which is a national organization, and it's one within the Dan River region. Cooperative Extension, in addition to certain housing authorities and different faith-based organizations, as well as the health department. So everyone played a different role in this partnership in providing their background and input. And so when we started doing more work, we realized that the closest childhood obesity treatment facility was about 4 hours away, because this is a really rural, considered a rural region. So our focus was to create a family-based childhood obesity program. And so an extension of this partnership was the POPS CAB, which was Partnering for Obesity Planning and Sustainability Community Advisory Board. And the primary focus of this advisory board was to just focus on the development of this intervention. So they were a part of the overall advisory board, but the different members of this group was only focused on really how are we going to create this particular intervention. And so that led to the creation of I Choose. And so with this collaborative partnership, community members discussed their needs and the needs of other community members who would most likely be participating in this program. And researchers, we brought back different evidence-based childhood obesity interventions that have been shown to improve childhood BMI-Z scores. And from our conversations and continued meetings, we created the I Choose program. And I Choose was tailored after the evidence-based program Bright Bodies, but we created I Choose to be more of a fit within our actual community. And so I Choose was structured with having 6 family classes. And so really with family-based childhood obesity programs, the more contact that families and children are having in these programs, typically the better outcomes that we see in changing their BMI-Z scores, or improving those BMI-Z scores. And so this program was about an 8-week intervention. It consisted of 6 family classes. And in between those classes, parents received telephone support calls. And these telephone support calls were tailored to the individual families based off the goals that they created in our family-based classes. And then the newsletters were tailored for the children. And with these classes, they were structured with having the nutrition education component, followed by a physical activity component. And then the last component of the class was a behavioral-based component, where children will go to a separate session and parents will go to a separate session, and they would talk about whether it's bullying for children or who are supporters in the family to support new healthy lifestyle changes. And so the classes were about 2 hours every other Saturday, and in between those classes there were exercise sessions that parents and children could attend during the actual weekday. And so with the focus of sustainability in mind, this program was delivered across 3 different waves. And so first it was research delivered, and it was kind of our focus on like a pilot testing of how we're going to get the kinks out of the program. And based on wave 1, we made modifications that led us to wave 2. And wave two was researcher and community delivered. And so our community partners aided in the delivery of every aspect of the program, from the class, from the face-to-face classes to the exercise sessions, in addition to the telephone support calls. And then wave three was our third wave with new families in each wave. And wave three was all delivered by community members or community participants who were on our advisory board. And so we were able to meet our 24 milestones with this program. So we did see promising reach. So thinking about how many people in the region we were able to reach and engage in this program, in addition to changes in child BMI-Z scores and moderate changes in parent BMI scores. However, we realized that the primary limitations to this study was that we had not targeted the actual audience. So the parents and children who are actually engaging in this intervention, we had not targeted them for participation in an advisory board. Because a lot of times in community-based participatory research, we see that our stakeholders are not always a replication of the actual target audience that we're reaching. So we wanted to engage our target audience in our advisory team. And also when we did our 6-month follow-up with our families, we saw that parents and children were not maintaining their changes in BMI-Z score. The majority of participants were gaining their weight back. And so we really wanted to focus on how can we have a weight maintenance component to help sustain these changes in BMI-Z scores. And so that led to the development of our capacity advisory team. And so how we wanted to address this limitation was really develop a parent advisory team with the goal to develop their capacity. So going back to this group dynamics, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse in the corner, but this logic model here at the bottom, developing their capacity to actually engage in addressing this overall weight maintenance and tackling this weight maintenance program for future families and children participating in the I Choose program. And so that was our primary focus, because like I said before, it had demonstrated promising results as it related to changes in BMI-Z scores and reach. But the I Choose program, one, did not have a weight maintenance program, and it also did not involve the target audience in this group dynamics perspective or in this advisory board piece. And so that led to the development of the parent advisory team. And so it was an extension of the POPS CAB, and the parents were just like every community-based organization on our Dan River partnership, our POPS CAB. They were all parents who collaborated equally in this research process to develop a weight maintenance phase. And so to be eligible to participate in this parent advisory team, parents from each wave had to complete at least 50% of the program. So that was at least 9 or more sessions. And that included classes, the teach back telephone calls that we did, in addition to the physical activity programs. And the research team, to reach these parents, because these waves were across different periods of time, we called each of the parents who met this criteria, talked to them about the goal and focus of why we were creating a parent advisory team and why there was a need for a weight maintenance program. And so for those parents who really had interest in participating, we followed up with another letter giving more detail, in addition to phone calls about what we were going to do, the purpose and goal, and also planning our very first meeting. And so once parents across each wave were involved, the focus of the meeting was really with the small group peer sharing, in addition to this large group discussion. So how we structured our meetings, we wanted to make sure that everyone had an equitable voice in this participation and how we were engaging as an advisory team. And so the initial agenda for our very first meeting was set by the research team. And it was really a deeper overview of what happened during the I Choose program, and talking to the parents of why do you believe we saw some of the highs and the lows. And then all of our other meeting agendas were collaboratively designed by parents as well as this research team. And so during each meeting, they were structured in having small group activities. And then we would come back as a larger advisory team to really discuss our primary focus of that particular week. And one piece when engaging the community, we always provided dinner because much of our meetings were toward a dinner time, either around a 5:30 to a 7 or 6 to a 7:30 p.m. And so we provided dinner for our families in addition to childcare because a lot of the parents, of course, participating had children, and not just the children who participated in the actual intervention, but smaller children as well. And it was also encouraged to bring children because we started doing more pilot testing of the weight maintenance activities that parents discussed, and we wanted children to be a part to receive their input as well. And so going back to this capacity component of the community-based participatory research approach, the strong piece about capacity is we want to know how we're working together as an advisory team. How are we working together as a group? And so we evaluated and we ranked community capacity and group dynamic structures. And the researchers evaluated their top community capacity as well as top group dynamics, followed by the community members doing the same thing. And then we ranked them together to see what were our top capacity and group dynamic factors. And this really was our guiding force to say, how do we know that we're working well, we're working collaboratively as a team, what's important to us as an advisory team. And these were our capacity and group dynamics. So the top for the researchers and the top for our community. And so what we could to collaboratively and together, our primary focus was to say our collective efficacy. So really what was our confidence in developing this maintenance phase, how we're communicating, and what is that power? So really thinking about the ability of the community to really invoke and impact change in their community, and who was the leader. So leadership with a community-based participatory research piece should really be shared. So what did that look like? And then just participation and influence, how community members felt that they were able to influence and reach participation from other families, and not just families who had previously participated in the program, but just for the future engagement of this. And how are we really working to identify and assess the problem? And then what are those influences that we have? So how much control did the PAT feel as though that they had? And really thinking about making decisions for their personal life, in addition to decisions about the health of their community and just overall satisfaction. How do we feel about working together as an advisory team? And so the results from our capacity evaluation. So when we focused with this PAT, we were able to, over this year process, we were able to engage them in every aspect of the research by helping them become familiar with the I Choose data. In addition to what does the research data say as it relates to strategies for weight maintenance, and developing a plan of how we can execute our maintenance phase. And then during this reflective evaluation of our community capacity. So how are we working together as a team to ensure that we are making strides in our collaborative efforts. So like to consider this group dynamics and capacity piece as a pulse check in what we're doing as a team. And then we were able to really conduct much of the pilot testing for each phase of this weight maintenance program that we developed. And so when we did our measurements, we had some quantitative measures of just looking at collective efficacy. And there were not really significant changes, but over time, as there are more evaluations and looking at this